Recording is on.
It is the 14th of January 2024, and we are here with some people who are very important to me. These are the no longer students, these are the fellows who completed the UX Bitcoin Bootcamp, the first ever UX 2025, the first ever UX Bootcamp in 2024. And the goal of this call today is to move from the problem space into the solution space, and the solution space being the design space. So that's what this call is all about today. It's so nice to see all of you. So nice to see Christoph here as well, and Eric. Eric is a UX designer, by the way. Christoph, Eric, and PaperPsych, would you like to introduce yourself to the fellows as well? Because they're not familiar with you, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Can start. So I've been doing this Bitcoin design thing for going on 5 years, 4.5 maybe, something like that. Just trying to help out with everything that I can in the Bitcoin design community, organizing things, writing a newsletter, chipping in on various projects, just trying to provide support, like supporting Mo with this call here.
Hey guys, I'm Eric. I'm a UX designer as well. I've been focused on Bitcoin UX design for about 3.5, 4 years now. And I do a lot of work on eCash stuff. So Bitcoin backed eCash, specifically the Cashew protocol, which is one of two eCash protocols. And I also work at, I guess I also used to work at Hoseki, which is a Bitcoin proof of reserves company that does like Bitcoin attestation. So that's like more the corporate side, but I'm really passionate about kind of eCash and open source Bitcoin stuff. So that's what I focus on.
Yeah. Hey guys, I am Paper and I work with Bitshala as the designer and the community manager at Bitspace. I am also recently became the Bitshala fellow with Bitcoin design, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, that's it.
And is it Daniel North on the call or another Daniel? I'm just checking. If it is Daniel North, please feel free to say hi because he's another very experienced designer as well. No? Another Daniel. Another. Okay, Daniel, you're good. So Daniel, are you from the Bitcoin design community? If you're unable to speak, also perfectly fine. Cool, welcome. So we have two very experienced designers here. PaperPsych also has experience as well. So we're going to share a little bit about what you guys, the projects that you were leading. And I know some people like Loic have already been shooting for the stars. They're already working with the project. They're already moving through the design iteration. So some of you have already even started working with the projects in the design solution phase. Um, but I'd very much like to keep on supporting you and keep on moving this forward. So I have a very structured process in mind, but I'd love to show Eric as well as Christoph and PaperPsych what you guys have been up to and how we did the bootcamp. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here to this here. I hope this is this visible to everyone?
Yep.
So, in the first ever Bitcoin UX Bootcamp, we focused on 4 wallets. And the people you see here on this call were project leads for each of these wallets. Now, when you click into this file here, who was Team Bitnob? Do you just want to say, hey, Team Bitnob? Team Bitnob, who are you? I forget. Elizabeth? Okay, Elizabeth was Team Bitnob. So, Team Bitnob initially kicked off with a document such as this, where they got into understanding the goals of the project, the target audience of the project, the features of the project, and seeing what public data was available. So they did this, what we call desk research. After completing the desk research, they then moved into doing the The Figma file is here. Let me share this instead. They then moved into doing a UX analysis of the wallet that they were project lead for. So part of the UX analysis was just looking, going through the interface and trying to analyze it from a UX perspective with the knowledge that they had at the time. After they did that, we then, I'm going to share this tab instead. They then conducted usability tests at the Africa conference. And these guys were, and ladies were absolutely amazing. So here we go. First, we did a test fill in. And then they conducted the tests at the actual event itself. And here you can see the aim was to complete a minimum of 5 usability tests. And that is what they did. They filled in the data using a Google form. So a separate Google form was created for each of the 5 projects, with Fedi being slightly different.
Sorry, Mo, but if you're meaning to share, at
Oh,
least I cannot see your screen.
oh, one moment. The sharing must have gone off. Here we go. So this is, let me see if this is visible. Yeah. So this is an example of the usability testing data that they then collected, and they filled this in at the event itself. How is it for you guys to work with the the Google form that you fill in? I'm just curious because it's the first time we've ever done something like this. So would anyone like to share um, how it felt to do the test and to fill in the form? Anyone? Floor is yours.
Hello. Um, uh, it was actually quite easy. I think the Google form really helped you. I hope you can be able to hear me. Sorry. Okay, cool. Yeah, it was actually quite easy. It made it easy for us to collaborate as well, and also to just quickly get data that we needed to, fill the form and also just collect for the platform.
I know for many of you, it was the first time doing usability tests. And so we did a test run of the usability test during the boot camp itself, because the second half of the day, we only had a half a day. And that was focusing on filling in the form, feeling what it's like, learning how to capture data verbatim of what everyone was saying. So that was the usability test over here. So then they at the okay. And then on the final day of the actual conference itself, we then had 1 hour worth of presentations. And the gentlemen on this call all attended the event of Marcel, where we were speaking about what it's like to work as a woman in the Bitcoin space. And you gentlemen gave the woman the opportunity to make the presentations. And I would like to say that I shared that story with many people, because I was so proud of you. Besides, doing the usability test, that you guys, stepped back from the traditional, male role of leading, and you allowed the woman to stand ahead and shine. So it was very beautiful. I was completely teary-eyed when I saw this. So thank you so much for all of you for doing that. So they then went on to give these presentations. I don't know if this is visible here. So is this visible? Let me
Yep.
see. Yeah. So
You
this
see.
is an example of one of the presentations from BitNob. They put the presentation together within 3-4 hours. We provided some guidance on how to put together a presentation. We mentioned to provide one piece of positive feedback, one friction point, and then to show both qualitative data as well as quantitative data. And this is how they were basically able to present this data to then the developer who leads the wallet. Um, would any of you like to share how it was for you putting together such a summary showing, all of the data coming together? So yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Um, my name is Wandia, and I was working on the Fedi app, and it was pretty easy, first of all, because we had a framework to use. So the structure was kind of everything was laid out for us. Our work was just collecting data, analyzing it, and presenting it. So I think for our team, it was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to Fedi's presentation over here. Is this visible? Share this tab instead. Is this visible here?
Yeah, we can see.
Perfect. So this was the Fedi presentation they put together. Um, they went through every single screen. And every presentation was done in a different way. Yeah, this is great. And look at that. They're adding in all the comments over here as well, friction points. And care was taken not to only mention friction points, because there's a lot of things that are done very well as well. And when Obi was there during the presentation, I quote, he actually said, "These are some of the things that we are already aware of, and that we are already planning on working on." I remember him saying that. So yeah, they've come. Every single one of you have come such a long way. This is so cute. This is Wandia with Obi. That's very cute. They were trying to send each other. There we go. And it was really great because actually at the event itself, all of the wallets were there. So each of you were building relationships with the wallet developers. So thank you. And also thank you all of you for showing up here, because as I said, I'm here to continue our relationship. So Christoph has actually helped me to put together this phase of how we're going to do things and move from design problems to solutions. Now Eric is here as well, and he's also an experienced designer. So Eric might have another way of doing things. So I'd like to say that the floor is completely open to changing the structure that Christoph and myself put into place. So I'll jump into the structure now. Just raise of hands, who has already moved into the design phase? Because I know Loic's already moved in with Tando. Tando is already moving ahead with design. So has anyone already taken a dive into designing solutions for the problems you solve? I'm very curious to hear from you. Loic, okay, Onion Man, let's go. Let's go. Would you like to share? And Loic, I would like to hear from you as well, please.
Okay, am I loud and clear?
Good. First, can I?
As you wish. You guys choose.
Okay, I think on our side with Tando, we quite move forward. Uh, Timmy already work on the detail screen. When we work with Tondo, we're doing usability testing. We just noticed that people were not able to like get real information about their transaction. So the history was not showing, and the information there was not so detailed. And right now, after the conference, we're still talking with Tondo, and they wish to move really quick with that because the app is used by many people and they want it to be so good. So for this screen is already designed, and I think they already integrated and share it on Twitter. So that's the way we move for them.
Wow. This is fast.
Mm.
This is amazing. Well
I'm
done.
gonna follow them now.
Super nice. So if I understand correctly, which screen was it? The transaction screen.
The history screen, when they finish to do the transaction, the details of the information about transaction, like sent to these people, this is the name, this is the number, things like that. Yeah.
So they trusted you and they went straight to implementation. Done. Amazing. Amazing. Onion Man, very well done, Loic and Tillyman.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So I think mine is a little different direction, right? So during the process of the FEDI, there were some insights I got around how a better user experience can be presented for a Bitcoin product, right? And also during the bootcamp. So that insight led me, I was sharing it with a friend, and then he got idea for a B2B Bitcoin centric product. And the insight we got as a result of the FEDI research was instrumental in how they are shaping how the product will be implemented. Because we were having a conversation around like generally Bitcoin product has an implementation problem, right, around like real world situation. And then it was like, okay, this makes sense because of the insight we got towards the Fed around their fees, around how it's presented, around how it's used around people's problem. Yeah. That was like
Onion Man, I think your audio is a little bit broken up. Is it for this only for me or
No, it's for me as well. It sounds like you're choppy,
it's
a little
broken up?
frozen.
Maybe if you want to include it in the chat as well, or you want to try it again, is also perfectly fine. Yeah, there we go. Turning off video might help. Yeah. All right, we'll give Onion Man a moment to come back.
is it better?
This is good. This is
Is
good.
it
Good.
so what I was saying earlier was direction was a little
No,
I think we lost you again.
the gremlins
different
got you today. Sorry, Onion
around
Man.
the implementation. So I don't know if I
No, Onion Man, the gremlins got you today. The audio seems to still be glitchy. Um, maybe you can type it in the chat, and in the meantime, I'd just like to, every single one of you started at different points in your UX journey, and you were pretty much thrown into the deep end at becoming project leads and really feeling what it's like to be a UX designer, but first going into the problem space. Um, what would you say is the biggest thing you learned about UX design just from the process that we've done? I'd like to hear that from each of you because I'm learning from you as well, and we're learning from you. So, what would you say is the biggest thing you learned about UX design just from going through those 2 days of the boot camp and going through this structured process? We can start with Toby. You're at the top of the screen.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. So, I think what is for me, right, is actually having to see the importance of real life data, right? Interacting with the people you are building for, trying to put yourself in a situation where you see them experience the product, you see them give feedback, positive feedback, negative feedback, right? And you using that information to go back to, come up with solutions to make the friction points better for them and also improving on the solutions which the positive comments also. I mean, everything can always be better, right? So just that feeling where you're using real life data to actually go back to the drawing board, come up with what can we do to make this good, what can we do to make this better, and yeah, interacting with the devs because at the end of the day, I'm sure at the back of their mind, for example, Bitsaku, there were a lot of things he did not experience that he had not experienced as a dev, right? and we bringing that to life for him was actually so I think that's it for me. The importance or the yes, I think I would say the importance of real life data to come up with something reasonable. That was it for me.
Can I have a question about that as well. Like one thing that I'm a bit curious about is how did you guys approach finding people to do the testing with? Did you randomly go up to people, and did you have a process in place to filter for certain kinds of people? Because what I found is that there are certain kinds of people that are better for getting feedback than not. Like for example, a Fetty developer would be a bit biased, so it's maybe not a person you want to test with. How did you guys think about that when you were conducting the test?
Okay, this is Amir, right, or general?
Oh, yeah, let's go with you. But yeah,
All
if
right.
anyone else wants to answer, they can.
All right, I'll go. I'll go. Okay, so we actually met people at random, right? And I remember an instruction from, I think, either Mo or I can't remember the other designer's name, the
Mark,
Kenyan,
Mark.
Mark, yeah. They gave, and I think someone pointed it out where we should not have interviews or we should not reach out to the devs to test because, like you mentioned, they're definitely going to be biased, right? So we reached out to at least the BitSaco team, which I'm sure of. We reached out to people who had no business with BitSaco, right? And people who mainly reached out to Kenyans in the conference, not any other person, because it was targeted at Kenyans. So we didn't, yeah. So it really helped us to get sincere responses rather than devs who already know how it works and making it easy for us. So
And I would like to add, this was really funny because Bitsako was there, Jodum was there, and I said, Jodum, come see, these guys are doing usability tests on your wallet. So he comes super enthusiastic into the room. I said, well, they're having problems, they're struggling, come see. So he comes, he sits next to the team who's doing usability testing on Bitsako, and Jodum was trying to fix the problems while they were doing the usability tests. I was like, I said to Jodum, it's okay. Take a break. We will present all the data to you at the end of this, and then you can think about fixing it when you have a lot of data. But that was so heartwarming to see the developers so enthusiastic to wanting to fix things. And Jodum has already reached out to me because he'd like to move forward with the design solutions. So that's then one of the next steps. But yeah, please go ahead with answering. What was the biggest thing that you learned about UX design from going through the whole process?
yeah, like I said earlier, it's just the importance of what real data can do
Hmm.
while you're solving for pain points and friction points basically.
Wandia, Loic.
Yes. So for me, what I learned with the whole process was listening because I come from the developer side. So this was actually very new to me. And with development, you kind of lead and make the decisions, and you have to know like exactly what your process is. And so for me, this taught me to just sit back, listen, watch for non-verbal cues as well, because some people will tell you what you want to hear. So it's up to you to kind of look at how they're reacting, yeah, right? And then listen to what they say. Another thing was just meeting people halfway, knowing how to compromise. So whether that's talking to a developer, letting them understand that, oh, this is a really good product, but these are some things that will help, smooth the user, interactions and stuff like that. But for me, the major point was listening and watching people's behavior as they're using the app. Yeah.
And I see Sabina and Jason here on the call. If I'm not correct, you guys are both the co-founders of Tando Wallet. Is that the same Sabina and Jason? Feel free to say hi.
Yes, we're here.
Yay, Tando Wallet is here. We're going to have a follow-up call with you guys, but this is actually leading up to the follow-up call. So nice to see you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
Oh, Sabina has some background noise there, but Sabina was one of the. Sabina, feel free to chime in whenever your audio is good. But Sabina was so keen Maybe you guys can share, Jason, if your audio is good. You've been working with Loic and you've already implemented the development solution on the development side. Would you like to share more about that?
Yeah, we're actually in the same room, so we have to keep one of our laptops muted. That's why we get the feedback. Yeah, we love all the feedback. Some great ideas came from the conference. It was very smooth transition going from the event to actually discussing ideas with the designers and UX people. And yeah, we've already implemented one update, and we're trying to move fast and update more to give everyone the features they want as quickly as possible, because everyone loved the app and we want to keep pushing it.
Amazing.
Get Bitcoin adoption across the country as fast as possible.
Amazing. And I know that, Loic and Tillyman, they went through the boot camp. They're the project leads now of Tando Wallet. So they're the best suitable people to move with you guys together through this process. And I'd like to thank you as well for trusting the advice from Loic and Tillyman as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're not experts in design, but I think we can recognize it when we see it. And yeah, the results were great. And the feedback we've had from actual users, they love it. I'll add one other, maybe this is useful to other people, is one other piece of feedback once we rolled out these features was, so on the receipt screen where it shows that you paid, that you can then show that to the merchant, we added a nice big sort of, for lack of a better word, ad that says, I paid with Bitcoin, so that the merchants will realize, oh, Bitcoin's really money. But as much as I think a lot of people loved it, one piece of feedback was, I would like an OPSEC friendly version where I can kind of hide that. So it just shows I paid, but you don't have to know I'm a Bitcoiner. So that's kind of one thing we're going to add as well in the next update. So something to think about for other designers, like how can you have a wallet that's usable, but also keeps you safe from bad people.
Amazing. And we want to just continue building these relationships with you, the developers. I know one of you said it's so important to build relationships with developers as well. So thank you so much for trusting the fellows. Oh, Onion Man. I will read it out. What I learned from the whole process, it was how underlying principles shapes the real life implementation of solutions to ensure it solves users' problems without much thought. Users shouldn't understand how Bitcoin works. The culture shock of engaging a Bitcoin solution should be seamless and indistinguishable from what they know, at least not too much. Thank you for sharing how the underlying principle shapes the real life implementations, because Onion Man is a developer as well and has developer experience. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, that kind of just reminds me of something. I'm not sure how many of you guys have gone to design school, but something that stuck with me when I went to design school was we spent time learning about something called like Gestalt principles, which deal with how human beings perceive things. And one of the things that you learn, this isn't just apply to UX design, but it can also apply to like industrial design, is that human beings have like a natural way of how they perceive the world around them. And if you can understand kind of what those principles are, and then take them and apply them to design, you'll find that it's more successful. And this is quite a big deal when it comes to like architecture and physical space. But I think that might be what Onion Man's kind of touching on, that it should be seamless and indistinguishable from what they already know, from how we kind of naturally interact with objects and things around us.
Yep. Would one more person like to share before we move into the process? Now, Christoph helped me to put the process together, so I'm going to rally him in helping to explain it. I've just said that he doesn't, he didn't volunteer. But would one more person like to share how their perception of UX design? Yeah, please share, Ademi.
Okay, so as someone who is like predominantly a UI designer, I think attending the bootcamp was a very transformative experience for me because it introduced me to how like usability testing is powerful, like in a real world context. Because and mind you, to answer Eric's question, I think the general kind of testing we used was like a guerrilla test. So we just walked up to random people who were like attending the conference and who were eager to interface with Bitcoin solutions, wallets, and whatnot. So there wasn't a specific demographic, even though like we didn't really think of that because of how fast we put together all those things. We'll have targeted maybe different age groups, different maybe genders and whatnot and all that. But like since it was an informal testing method, it helped us like gather feedback quickly from like people immediately, and it was in their natural environment. So it's not like they were expecting it. So that's why the feedback was more genuine. And it was very eye-opening because like we got like critical insights into like how users behave, with just interfacing with a product probably they've never used before, or maybe they've used before and was probably maybe acting in a certain way, maybe because of something, So and we saw how like making small adjustments to stuff like navigations, call to actions, and all that could like dramatically and really, really specifically impact how users will flow and use these products, So like for me, I think the only thing that stood out was because of how the testing method went, if there was a way to follow up with these participants, and from the insights we gain from them, test again with like the prototype again and the project, I feel like we'll have gotten insights that will further cement the learning experience and further showcase how testing is very, very important to building a very, very solid product. So for me, I think that's it.
Thank you very much for sharing. Amazing. And just to share, this is part one. So um, I'm not going to go into the process phase because we're going to be bringing all of the wallet developers, and Jason and Sabina are so grateful that you guys are here already. The enthusiasm of Sabina was amazing because Sabina was already there, I think even 1 hour before we were going to have the presentation. She's like, I'm here in the presentation room. And it was such a historical moment because we had every single developer of every single wallet in that room at the same time, and they were so open to receiving the feedback and the presentations from all of you. So it was a very, very nice process that we went through. So I'm
Can I
going
ask a quick question on that point?
to go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier that while you were presenting this to Fedi, Obi mentioned that he was already aware of some of this. So maybe some of this was already confirmed through his own conversations. As a wider whole, when you guys presented these to your respective developers, whether at Tando or whatever wallet, what was your kind of impression for the developers? How much of it was totally kind of brand new to them, and how much of it do you think was something that they kind of maybe were aware of, or they said, "Oh, you know what? I actually heard someone else say to this me before." What was kind of the split? I'm curious as to how much was new versus how much of it was something that they were already aware of, as far as you could tell from your presentation.
Go ahead.
Okay, for me, I feel like for because we did for Bitnob, I and Musanga, I believe she's on the call. The feedback wasn't entirely new to the Bitnob developers. Although the lead developer actually followed up with like questions, and she actually asked for the presentation and the Google Doc, the insights, the results that we got from the testing, so that they could probably look into it more. But we haven't gotten any feedback from them. But I think generally they were not new. There was nothing new actually, because for my own, it was mostly an onboarding bottleneck that we faced with Bitno, because onboarding was really, really long. And I think they are aware of that. But I feel like, with design, there are always trade-offs with things that you probably cannot really circumvent because of the whole flow of the product. So they were aware of that bottleneck, but I'm not sure if it's something they wanted to tackle immediately, right? But we shared the feedback with them regardless. So yeah.
Good question. Good question, Eric. Shall we dive into and full transparency? I reached out to Christoph for help about this because we've never done something exactly like this before. So I basically reached out to Christoph and I was like, this is how I think it would be a good idea to move from the problems that you guys now fully understand to the solutions. So this is the process we came up with. I created this FigJam board was put together in like 20 minutes tops. So I'm just going to share it with you here. I just tried to make it fun by using all of those wacky. So this is a process, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. I'm going to leave all of the design ones to Christoph, because he had quite a lot of suggestions on the design side of things. I'm going to dive into moving from problems to solutions. So the first suggestion I would say is go through, each of you have a folder, go through the usability testing part of that folder. So you can choose to or go through your presentation or to go through the raw data of the tests that you've done. Choose one problem. Choose one problem that you think, if this problem is solved, it will have the highest impact on the user experience, and you have qualitative and quantitative data to back that up. The problem should be a non-technical problem. It should be a problem that if you design a solution, it is a design solution that solves that problem. Then go through the UX audit that you did. Remember, you each, on day 1 of the UX Bootcamp, you each went through this audit where you took screenshots and you went through a UX analysis of the wallet. Look for notes in your wallet that are connected to that same problem. So there's a possibility that the problem that arose through the usability testing is also a problem that arose through the UX audit. And then take a pen and a paper, or you can even write it in your Figma file. Describe the problem in 1 or 2 sentences. And from this point, I'd like to hand it over to Christoph, because Christoph mentioned describing the problem in 1 or 2 sentences. So I'm handing it over to Christoph now.
All right, thanks, Mo. So before going into the design, so the reason why you want to pick one problem and describe it well is because as you go from research to actually doing the design, you're really starting your relationship with the development team or the project team, right? Before that, you kind of did independent research, you dealt with users. You're not really that close with the team, but as you actually start designing and you want them that to be a good design solution, you want them to implement it, right? At this point, you really should be on the same page with them. So it's good to have a good relationship with them. So if you describe a problem and says, this is what I'd like to improve, and this is the reason why, and they give an okay, then that's great. But if they say, well, that's not really on our radar, I wish you could work on this other thing first, then maybe you should work on this other thing first, because you don't want to go through all this work and then it doesn't get implemented. So yeah, you really need to change about how you think about the work. You're really kind of in this dance together with the product team. A very basic thing then in the design is you just go through the experience again, maybe personally. You go through the screenshots, you kind of lay out something like FigJam or Miro or Figma is really good. You just lay out all the different screens. Sometimes it can be good to try other applications. So if, let's say, you're working on a transaction detail screen or an activity screen, you look at other applications. You just kind of do this type of research, this comparative research, see what other solutions are out there. And then a good step is to brainstorm. Maybe you want to grab a piece of paper. Maybe you just want to, to go directly into the design. Just kind of explore the space. And then it depends, like for some projects I've worked on, we've done like 100 versions of like a specific user flow. Sometimes you also could just come up with 5 or so. If it's a small problem, let's say it's just a matter of changing some copywriting, then you might have fewer variations. Sometimes you have more. And the point there is that nothing is sacred. You can just assume that everything can be thrown away. Like you're not tied to anything. You're just trying to explore. And at the beginning, usually the first ideas you come up with, they're usually not the good ones. They're just the starting points. You need them to get out of your system. And then as you do more variations, then you get a little bit closer. Another point to make there is that if, let's say, you work on a very defined problem, don't try to, grab some super fancy UI kit and that looks completely different than the application. You only want to touch the pieces that are really relevant to the problem you're trying to solve. Because if it's too big, if you change too much stuff, then the developer or the product team, they have to still take it apart again. They can't just do exactly the changes that you're discussing. So just try to be it's like surgery. You're trying to just try to touch some very specific parts. So very, very specific. That's kind of the guidance there. You have tons of resources, the Bitcoin UI Kit, the Bitcoin Design Guide, the Open Design Guide. Feel free to ask questions in the Discord or so. And then when you feel like you've got some good solutions, something that I've seen that has worked very well is instead of trying to just come up with the one perfect solution and then say, like, here it is, this is it, that almost never works. Because usually it's better to come up with, out of all the variations that you've created, to pick 3 that seem the most promising and that are also kind of different. That's like, here's this one particular way to solve it. Here's this other way to solve it. Here's maybe another one that kind of show different approaches. And when you then present those to other designers and you present them to the product team, they also have something to respond to. You can have conversations about those. And maybe the one approach that you thought works great is maybe there's a technical problem, or maybe there's something else with it, and maybe the others, they prefer another direction. So presenting 3 is usually a very good for to allow everyone to kind of rally around and come up with a direction. And from there, typically you do a bit of presentation and conversation. From there, then you can typically, sometimes you need to go back and create more variations, but often you can then pick the pieces based on the conversation and come up with the one solution. Then you can start wrapping things up and then have more conversations. Just don't assume that you will get it perfect the first time. You might feel like it's perfect for you, but then you're always doing these things for other people, for the users, for the product team, and it's really them that have to be happy with things. So even if you don't like the solution, it might still be the right solution because users might be happy and it might be good and easy to implement. So you have to be kind of selfless there. And that's about it. Eric, would you add anything to this?
Just want to emphasize that point about using their existing design language. That's something that I kind of learned the harder way as I was working with developers, is that, like Christoph said, it very much is performing surgery, and try to think about it like every major aesthetic or design change that is totally different from what they already have in the app requires them modifying code. And sometimes you really want to keep as little code to be changed as possible. So if they can reuse what they already have, that's going to make getting the PR, getting the actual change integrated a lot easier. So definitely keep that one. Everything else, I think it's pretty thorough.
Totally open for questions too. Anything you might have questions about now or later. Totally open for conversation.
Is there any plans or ideas to do like testing of the solutions or anything like that remotely? Or sometimes what we do, aside from just getting feedback in the design community, is there anything else that maybe we can do? Because sometimes the design community is a bunch of designers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's like another place we can go.
This is a very good suggestion from your side to test their solutions, which falls in line with what Adeyemi said. Please forgive me for not pronouncing your name correctly. But we don't have any plans at the moment for testing out the design solutions. We had an idea with sharing the designs in the community. So after you all have worked on your 3 designs, as we suggested, you'll have 3 designs for one problem. There is the UX channel in the Bitcoin design community. Go ahead and share your 3 solutions in that channel and wait for feedback, because there's many experienced designers and developers and project managers in the community who give you feedback. You'll receive feedback, as Christoph said, you'll then change it and you mold it, and then you'll be left with this final design, which you think this is the one. So, Eric, you're referring to testing out that final design.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. So you can always find someone around you to test things or so. And if you use prototypes like Figma, clickable prototypes, and you pull them up on your phone,
Mhm.
you really change your frame of mind when you have it on your phone and you tap around. You switch from designer brain to user brain, and you'll see things very differently. So I also do that quite often. I just I design something, but then I make a quick little prototype. I go somewhere else. I go outside. I go to the sofa. Click around on it because like I approach it from a different mindset, and that can sometimes also very quickly give you a feeling whether it's right or not. So you can kind of do self-user testing, and then you can easily, if you have that, you can easily give it to someone else and have them respond to things.
It's a good suggestion from Eric and Christoph. This Figma FigJam file, I will share it in the WhatsApp group where we are all in at the moment. The suggestion from Christoph was, and let's maybe think together how to do this, is once we have the one design solution, only at that point to bring in the development team. Or how are you thinking about this? Because ideally, we'd like to set up one call with each of the wallets in the Bitcoin design community. So we have one for Tando, one for Machankura, for every single wallet.
Well, you can do a lot without calls.
Yeah.
Calls require everyone to be available at the exact same time.
Exactly.
If you record a video, if you make a prototype, and if you
Mhm.
post it and say, I'd like to have feedback on this and this and this and this thing by Friday or so, then people can take their time. They can look at it in the evening, in the morning, whatever their time zone is in. So don't, calls are good. They're great, like this call
Mhm.
here. But though asynchronous communication is also that should almost be like your foundation. And then calls are an additional thing.
And maybe what we can do is we can also communicate with the developers with the GitHubs for the wallets as well. So, I'm sure each of these are all open source wallets. So if we can find the GitHub of the wallet, and then you then go, I don't know if all of you have GitHub accounts, you then go and you then post your design solutions on their GitHub. And from there, you'll actually be able to watch this happen over a long term. And Christoph has a lot of experience in this. Sometimes you post a design solution, but not all the wallets are as quick as Tando. Sometimes the wallet will take 6 months to implement that on the development side, and then they will respond to what you wrote, and they will implement it on the development side. 3 years Christoph had for one issue. But this yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just chuckling. Sorry.
Yeah. So this for you will be able to track. You'll be able to track in real time how what the wallet is doing with the feedback and the UX suggestions that you've given them. And it's also your proof of work as well, because once you post to their and maybe some of the projects, we'll reach out to some of the projects. Maybe some of the projects would like to have a call. Oh, Christoph shared the GitHub issue. Maybe some of the projects would like to have a phone call. We're completely open to that as well. And after you guys go through this design phase, which I think we can pretty much wrap up this design phase in 2 weeks. If you post, if you share in the UX channel, we can wrap it up in, let's say, the next 2 weeks. Then I'd like to see which of you would be interested in like going to the next step of possibly applying to become a design fellow at the Bitcoin Design Foundation, and seeing who is feeling like going in that direction. Because that's something very specific which we're doing right now with Bitshala, which PaperPsych is involved in. So, Paper Psych, would you like to share a little bit more about that?
More about as in the fellowship or
Yeah, the fellowship. Yeah, how it
yeah. So
works, basically, how they're working with projects and that kind of thing.
I think Christoph can give a better picture because I am involved. So, guys, I am one of the fellows. While I'm involved with the operations, but I'm also one of the fellows. So,
Yeah.
as a fellow, it is a great opportunity to get more involved. I have been saying in the Bitcoin community that I want to be more involved with open source contributions, but I've been slow. So, this gave me the opportunity to come work with Bitcoin design on more projects. Currently, I'm only doing PR reviews, helping with newsletters, getting more activity with understanding how the foundation work works. But yeah, organizational sides, Christoph, I'll let you do that.
I don't think we have to go into that much detail. We're almost towards the end of the hour. I shared the link. It's a fellowship and
Yeah.
Paper. I think you designed that website. There should be all the information on there, right?
I think the design one is still like the PR is up, so the design particular aspect of it will be updated in a week or so, but it's not yet live on the website, I think.
Yeah, but even the one for developer,
Yeah, that is
it's the
good
same
enough.
type of program, but
Yes.
for designers. And yeah, and just generally with the Bitcoin Design Foundation and whatnot, we're trying to do our best to create more programs like this
Yep.
because there aren't that many.
Yep.
So feel free to ask questions in Discord about these things.
Yeah. There is where would be the best place for them to ask questions? I think in the education channel.
That
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. See, and if you scroll down there, you see it says apply for a designer role. So yeah, that could be the next logical step for some of you who would like to continue on this journey. So yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. I will share this in the chat here. I'm going to share it right now, straight away. The Figma file, so you have access to it. I think all of you guys are in the Bitcoin design community. So once you work on your design solutions, feel free to share it in the UX channel. And then from there, people will jump in, they'll give you feedback. You learn how to work in public. Also, as I always encourage you, share it on your socials. So share your design solution in your social and tag the wallet, because that creates this awareness that you are the person who is working on UX on that particular wallet. So yeah, that's it pretty much. Are there any questions or anything anyone would like to add?
Looking forward to see your guys' design ideas in the UX channel. I don't have a lot of experience with these wallets, so I'll be kind of seeing the before and the after for the first time. So with me, you're going to be getting fresh insights. So I hope it's going to be helpful. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys cook up.
Anyone else? Nope. So yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. I hope you guys all had a good rest over the Christmas period. We worked very hard, all of us, in 2024. So yeah, let's keep on moving forward. Keep on working in public. As all of you know, my story, how I landed a role in this space. I just worked in public and I just enjoyed what I was doing. So just please keep on going, all of you, and looking forward to seeing all of your work in public. Christoph says, very excited to see what you all come up with. Yeah, likewise. Likewise. And I guess that's a wrap.
Thank you, everyone. Mo, make sure to stop the recording before you quit the call, or the file will get
For
lost.
sure. Jason, go ahead. Would you like to share something?
Maybe
Jason,
not.
Jason, you raised your hand, or maybe it was my mistake.
He probably just meant to press the clap button or so. Happens
Yeah.
quite
Okay.
frequently.
And Paper Psych says this was exciting. Hope we're going to do it in India. All right. Take care, all of you, and I'll see you in the chats.
Right.
All right.
Thanks,
I'll stop the
everyone.
recording.
See you guys online.
Bye bye.